Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Model Kit Review. In today's fun, in-process model kit review, we will be looking at Zvezda's 1/48 scale Yak-3 Soviet fighter. This kit was released in 2012, and it is Zvezda kit number 4814. The Yak-3 was a World War II era fighter aircraft. It was arguably the best point defense interceptor fielded by any nation during the conflict. The Yak-3 was so effective as an interceptor that at one point the German High Command issued an order forbidding fighter pilots to engage in dogfights with the Yak-3. In this video, we'll be taking a look at what comes in the box. We'll be looking at the kit instructions and we'll be going through those. We'll take a look at the detail parts that are included with this kit. We'll also take a look at the transparencies and talk about the fit and clarity of those. We'll look at the surface detailing on the exterior of the kit. We'll also talk about the fit of the major parts of the kit. We'll look at the color and marking guides and the decal options included with the kit. We'll also take a look at the decals themselves. I'll go over any potential problem areas to watch out for, and I'll give my conclusions at the end. And we'll be attempting to answer the question, with Eduard's Yak-3 already on the market, is this Zvezda Yak-3 kit the best Yak-3 in 1/48 scale? Looking at what comes in the box, there are 3 sprues of plastic parts, there's 1 sprue of clear parts, and there's a large decal sheet. Moving on to the instructions, step number 1 has you building the wing assembly, starting with the gear bays and air intake ducts, and then adding the lower wing to the upper wing and adding the ailerons to those. Looking at the interior of the gear bays, we can see there are quite a few of the ejector pin marks. These are in areas that are very hard to get to and almost impossible to fill. I think I'm just going to leave these and try to detail around them as best I can. Steps 2 through 4 cover assembly of the cockpit interior. These parts actually get mounted to the upper surface of the wing. You can see the raised detail on the cockpit side consoles. This should detail out very nicely. The interior parts themselves look fine. There's not an extensive amount of engraved detail on the instrument panel, but I think the addition of the decal dial faces will dress that up quite a bit. Steps 5 and 6 continue with the interior assembly. Step 6 is only necessary if you're building the kit with the engine exposed. On a positive note, the pilot figure that's included with this kit is extremely well detailed, probably the best pilot figure I've seen in 1/48 scale. Step 7 covers some interior sidewall detail on the fuselage halves. It also includes joining the fuselage halves and trapping the tail wheel in that assembly. Looking at the inside of the fuselage halves, we can see more ejector pen marks. Thankfully, most of these won't be visible on the completed kit. In step 8, we're mounting the fuselage assembly to the upper wing and attaching the tail planes. And step 9 is an optional step and only necessary if you're building the engine exposed on the kit. Looking at the fit of the tail planes, these should fit really nicely. And dry fitting the major parts together shows that you should be able to get an almost filler-free build with this kit. One problem area to watch out for is the sinkholes that are just inside of the elevators on the fuselage. I have filled those with green putty and sanded them down in this picture. Step 10 covers the landing gear and radiator. The main gear attachment also looks very solid. The detail parts here look very nice, and they should look great once detail painted. Step 11 covers adding the remaining gear doors and the radiator cover. Step 12 covers the option of building the kit with the landing gear retracted. Dry fitting the radiator cover, this looks to be an excellent fit as well. Steps 13 through 22 cover the engine assembly on this kit. And honestly, the engine assembly itself is a highlight. This engine and the detail parts that go into the construction of the engine really deserve their own display. They're exquisitely molded, they're extremely well detailed, and the engine is worthy of being treated as a separate model in and of itself. Rather than go through each and every step, I'm just going to scroll through the directions and then the detail parts that correspond to that part of the instructions. The engine and pilot figure are so detailed that they take up their own dedicated sprue in the kit. Step 23 has you either adding the completed engine assembly or the closed-up engine cowlings to the kit. It also has you adding the windscreen and the armored glass for the pilot. Try fitting the closed-up engine cowling. Everything looks like it's going to fit very nicely. The clear parts themselves look excellent. They're very clear, they're thin, and I don't anticipate any problems with the fit of these parts. Step 24 has you assembling and mounting the prop. It also has you mounting the machine gun armament if you're building the kit with the engine exposed. And finally, it has you adding the rest of the cockpit canopy. I'm really disappointed with the prop on this kit. It's a single piece affair, and the join line between the spinner and the back of the prop is in the wrong location. And it will require some very careful detail painting to get this to look nice. Moving on to the color and marking guides, there are 3 marking options included with this kit. All of these marking options will be a light gray and dark gray over Russian underside blue. There's a single side view of each marking option and a generic plan view and lower view included in the instructions. Looking at the decals themselves, these are honestly disappointing. Not only has the white on the decals yellowed, but the carrier film itself has yellowed, and these decals look to be unusable. Looking at the surface detail on the kit, the underside of the wings looks very nice. It has engraved detail and some rivet detail on some parts. Because the Yak-3 was primarily plywood skin, there is very minimal detail on the upper side of the wings. There's also minimal detail on the exterior of the fuselage. And even on the metal skinned forward section of the fuselage, there is minimal engraved detail. And this is reflective of the surface detailing on the actual Yak-3 itself. In conclusion, Zvezda's Yak-3 has a lot going for it. The fit of the major parts looks excellent. The engine and pilot figure are both worthy of their own displays. Additionally, if you plan to build a kit with the engine compartment closed, it's a very straightforward, very easy build. It's not parts heavy, and it seems to be very well engineered. The assembly instructions are well done and should be easy to follow. On the downside, my kit had several sinkholes that needed to be filled. The decals are unusable. I'm not a fan of the engineering of the prop itself, and the ejector pin marks in the gear bays are really surprising to me. Is Zvezda's 1/48 scale Yak-3 the best Yak-3 currently available in that scale? Well, I've previously built the Edouard kit. I was very happy with that, and that really turned out nicely. Just looking at the plastic parts that come with the Zvezda kit, it definitely has an advantage in accuracy and level of detail over the Edouard Yak-3. The detailing on the cockpit of the Zvezda Yak-3 is superior to the Edouard kit. If you're planning to build your Yak-3 with the engine exposed, the Zvezda is certainly the way to go. Edouard's Yak-3 definitely has much better quality decals to it, and unfortunately the decals that come with the Zvezda kit are truly unusable. If you plan on picking this kit up, do yourself a favor and purchase a set of aftermarket decals for it at the same time. In fact, I recently bought another Edouard Yak-3 just to use some of the decals for this Zvezda kit. Well, I'd love to know what you guys think. If any of you out there have built Zvezda's 1/48 scale Yak-3 previously, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, model on.